Okay, guys, so I am an accessibility engineer with a company called Alliant. Um, we do all kinds of things. We do website accessibility testing, which is what I do. We do PDF document remediation, and we do um, Whale document embossing for banks and other things, other companies. Um, so I thought I would show you some of the problems that I see at work all the time. Um, And if anybody wants to know how to do something accessibly, let me know in the comments, and I'll see about making more videos like this. Um, so I built a couple of little demo things that I'm going to show you using Remix and React. Um, I like Remix because it uses the web standards. Um, of course, it doesn't force you to be accessible, but it feels like it's more based on how the web should be, which is kind of nice. So one of the things we see a lot is missing headings. So each page should have an H1 heading, and then sections of the page should have an H2 through H6 heading. A lot of times sections are indicated visually, but they're not indicated with headings, which means screen readers will miss out on them. Screen readers have heading level navigation keys that they can hit, that the screen reader users can hit to navigate between headings. Let me show you. So I have this little
Screencastify contact.index. Screencast 64. Localhost 3000 / Toto Google Chrome. Document.
this
Button
little
add.
to-do app here. So I have an H1 at the top of the page. I know it doesn't look pretty, but I'm hoping it looks decent enough that you guys can at least see what's going on here. So I have an H1 at the top,
Toto app heading level 1.
to-do app, and then I have
Existing Totos heading level 2.
another H2 for the existing to-dos, which are underneath right now, and then I have one for adding one.
Add new Toto heading level 2.
So, and it's important that these heading levels be in order. So the H1 comes first, the H2 comes after that. If there's an H3 heading that's underneath the H2, then that comes after the H2. And it's important to not skip heading levels. A lot of times we see heading levels, they'll start out with like heading level 1, heading level 2, but then they'll skip to like heading level 6. And I know they're doing that for styling, but you can style headings, any way you want. Um, so they really should be in order, and they should be present rather than just bolding the text or whatever. That should be a heading. So that's a big one that we see a lot. Another one that we see a lot is actually unlabeled form fields. So if you go over to my source code here,
Screencastify contact.index main
so
landmark
I'm
less
going
text
to,
area ID equals message name files contact.index.tsx not selected level 2 roots not selected level contact toto.index.tsx not main landmark
so
toto
there's the source code for the page I was just showing you, and you'll see
1 of
here,
1 found for SR unselected less label HTML for equals name greater name less slash label greater toto.index.tsx editor has autocomplete multi-line selected less label
for the add existing to do, or for the add to do, I have the fields are labeled. Now the way you label a form field usually is you use a label tag. In React, you have to use the HTML for, but in HTML, it's just the word for equals, and then the ID of the field that you're labeling, and then in between the opening and closing label tags, you'd have the text of the label. So, and screen readers will read out that text then when you label. So if I go over to where this
localhost 3000
to do
localhost
page is,
name edit has autocomplete blank description edit multi-line blank
it's reading out name, description,
complete checkbox not checked
complete,
add button
and then add. Another thing I see a lot is buttons that are buttons but are not marked up as such. So like divs that are clickable maybe, or maybe they aren't even clickable, or maybe they have like an on mouse down event or something or whatever. Um, and it's very hard to tell if it's not marked up as a button that it's an actionable button. So for example, if I go over here
Todo.index.ts Todo.index.tsx Todo
and
list visual less label ht less input type equals hidden name equals action less button type equals submit disabled equals nav.state equals idle greater add less slash button greater
if I were to take out the button
add less
markup,
input type equals hidden less button type equals less button type equals submit disabled add less slash button greater less slash form greater space greater add greater less input type blank add line feed d space a d less slash button greater less slash button greater selected line feed
save that and come over here.
Localhost 3000 clickable button add checkbox not checked complete add clickable button pen button rectangle.
And so now you can see that, like, if when it said add, it didn't say anything because there's no button markup there. So the way you mark up a button is you use the actual button control. Imagine that, a button tag in HTML. I'm just going to undo it.
Todo.index.ts
Put the button back the way it was.
add blank suggest list form greater 1 of 1 Todo.index.tsx editor has autocomplete multi-line /b less form greater less button greater add less button type equals submit disabled equals nav.state equals idle greater less button greater line feed greater button u t b less greater less button greater selected line feed
There we go.
unselected.
Okay, now if I format, save that.
Showing 7 problems tree view main landmark Todo add less button greater localhost 3000 button pen button rectangle button mouse button add.
Okay, now you can hear it says button add. So that's very important because it's the only way screeners are going to know that something's actionable is if it's actually marked up correctly. So it's very important to mark up buttons correctly. Another thing we see, and I put a message after you add it to do that I'll show you here. A lot of times people will put little progress messages up like one item added to cart or item added successfully or something like that, and those won't be readable by screen reader users because they're just sort of temporarily there on the page, and by default screen readers don't read out stuff that's added. You have to have it surrounded with a wrapper with a role equals status, so like a div with a role equals status, and then that div has to be present on page load. You can't inject it into the DOM. You can inject divs inside of that div into the DOM, but you can't inject the div with role equals status into the DOM, or otherwise it won't be read out. So it has to be done on page load. And let me show you here.
Todo.index.tsx import action file less label htm from less div role equals status class name equals sr only greater Todo dot less br slash greater role less div role equals message.
So yeah, so I have a div with role equals status, a class of SR only, which means it's only going to be visible to screen reader users, and a message. You don't have to have it only visible to screen reader users. I just can't figure out in the cursor control that I'm using for visual people, I can't figure out why when I put that inside the role equals status, it just repeats itself over and over again. I'm thinking it must be how the cursor control is implemented. It must be injecting itself over and over again because it keeps repeating itself over and over. So I just created a separate div with an invisible div to put my message in there. So now if you go over here,
Local document
over here to my
button
app,
add. Complete descript name list with 2 items contact us name edit has autocomplete blank
let's see, test to do.
description Edit multi-line blank.
This
I, space, S.
is a test.
Complete checkbox not checked. Add button.
Add.
Test total was added successfully.
See, it said test to do was added successfully. And visually, it should have that on the screen as well. And I believe there's a requirement for the visual messages to be on the screen for, I think it's, I forget exactly what the amount of time is, but there is a time limit that's required. I will post that in the description later if I remember um, what time a message has to be on screen, but it's pretty lengthy. I think it's like 25 seconds or something like that, but I could be wrong on that, so I'll double check that. Another thing I see, and it really bugs me, is everybody wants to implement their version of a custom select, and I don't understand why. But a lot of times the custom selects are very complicated and very hard to make accessible, and they all seem to behave in slightly different ways. Sometimes they open up with a down arrow, sometimes you have to use alt down arrow, sometimes they're not accessible with a screen reader at all, or keyboard at all. I don't understand why everybody feels like they have to implement their own custom select. See, I made a contact us one here that I'm going to bring up.
Complete checkbox not description, name, list with 2 items contact us visited link, list with 1 items delete button. List with 2 items contact us visited link.
You go to contact us here, and if I go to the state select drop down.
Name edit required, email edit required, address edit required, city edit required, state combo box collapsed Alabama.
All I have to do is hit enter to put NVDA into
state combo box
mode.
Alabama, Alaska, Arizona, Arkansas,
and I just
California,
have to download
Colorado,
through all
Connecticut.
These forms for all these options, I mean. And I'm just using a regular select tag with options. Now there are ways to make a custom select accessible, and I can go into that later if you'd like. I don't know it off the top of my head, to be honest. I'd have to look it up, but it's not easy to do, and there's a lot of work that you have to do that's natively there in the normal select tag. So you can basically use semantic HTML wherever you can. Use a select instead of a custom select. Use a type of date instead of a custom date picker. Use use type of email. Use the different input types that you have. That really helps make things accessible. So let's see, I talked about labeling form fields. All these form fields here are labeled on the screen. I think that's about all I have for now. If anybody has any questions or wants to see a specific topic covered, I could do a video on autocompletes. I could do a video on drop-down lists, making them accessible. Leave a note in the comments, and I will try my best to address them. I'm going to try to put out more regular videos on accessibility because it's something that I'm passionate about and it's something I work with every day. So hopefully I can reach more developers that way. Anyway, thanks for watching if you made it this far. Bye.
Zip edit required has autocomplete message clickable button, back button, clear screen button, toggle button pressed, clickable toggle button not pressed, toggle button not pressed, NAN, clickable toggle button pressed, toggle button not pressed, toggle button not pressed, toggle button, stickers, button clear screen, button back, button contact us, blank, edit required multi-line, save as dialog, file name, combo box collapsed, edit alt plus n select blank, localhost 3000 / contact Google Chrome. Document, blank, toggle button not pressed. Toggle, search tabs menu button sub menu, toggle button not pressed. Stickers, button clear button back, button contact us, clickable button,